Marcus came home just after 4 on a Thursday, dragging his suitcase over the kitchen threshold like the wheels had personally offended him. He was supposed to have been in Phoenix for a supplier conference. 3 days of meetings, 2 extra days helping an old friend, then home. That was the story. But when he stepped into my kitchen, his face was brown from the sun, the bridge of his nose was peeling, and the tops of his ears were pink. Phoenix has sun, of course. I am not a fool. But Marcus looked like a man who had spent the week near water with no real reason to check his email. "Dallas was a nightmare," he said, dropping his keys in the little blue bowl by the back door. "They changed the gate twice. Then we sat on the runway almost an hour. I swear, flying used to be easier." I was sitting at the island with coffee I had not touched in 20 minutes. The mug was still warm at the bottom and cold at the top. That seemed about right for my life that afternoon. Marcus leaned down and kissed my cheek. "You all right?" "Fine." He opened the refrigerator and started talking faster. Conference food was awful. The hotel coffee tasted burned. A man from Cleveland slept through an entire presentation and still asked the first question after it ended. He laughed at that part like he had brought home a funny story and not a sunburn. He took out turkey, mustard, and a plastic bowl of potato salad. His watch flashed when he reached for a plate. That watch was the reason I had not slept right in 4 nights. I bought it for him on our 20th anniversary. Stainless steel, plain face, heavy band. Marcus always said it was too nice for a man who spent half his life around furnaces and ductwork, but he wore it anyway. He wore it to church. He wore it to bed. He wore it when he mowed the lawn. And 4 days earlier, I had seen that watch sitting beside my sister's tropical drink in Maui. He kept talking while he made the sandwich. He told me about a bartender charging him $15 for a beer. He told me about the air conditioning in the hotel meeting room being too cold. He told me the rental car smelled like somebody had spilled old fries under the seat. I let him finish. Then I said, "How's Layla?" His hand stopped on the mustard lid. Not long, maybe half a second. But after 27 years of marriage, half a second can make more noise than a door slamming. He turned his head, not his whole body. "Your sister?" "That's the one." He gave a short laugh and looked down at the bread. "Why are you asking me about Layla?" I looked into my coffee. Her doctor said every man she's been with needs to get tested. The kitchen went so still I could hear the refrigerator hum. Marcus turned all the way around. "What?" That's what she told me. Tested for what? There it was. Not, "Is she sick?" Not, "What are you talking about?" Not even, "Why would that involve me?" Tested for what? I shrugged. She didn't say. She didn't say. No. He looked at me for another second. Then he put the mustard back in the refrigerator without using it. "I'm going to take a shower." "All right." He went upstairs. I sat at the island and listened to the floor creak above me. For 4 days, I had imagined that moment in every possible way. In one version, Marcus laughed and asked why Layla's doctor would have anything to do with him. In another, he frowned like I had lost my mind. In the version I wanted most, he said, "Denise, what are you really asking me?" I wanted the truth, but I also wanted him to give me one clean reason not to need it. 20 minutes later, he came back down in jeans and a fresh polo. His hair was wet. His face had that tight look men get when they have already decided to lie and are tired of waiting for the lie to leave their mouth. He picked up his keys. "I forgot something at the shop." "At the shop?" "Yes." "What?" "Paperwork." I nodded. He left through the same kitchen door he had come through less than an hour earlier. I walked to the front window and watched his truck back out of the driveway. I did not follow him. I did not need to. And if you are listening right now, tell me where you're listening from tonight. City, state, country, or even just what time it is where you are. I always wonder where people are when a story like this finds them. 4 days before Marcus came home, my sister Layla sent me a picture by mistake. At least that was the story she used. It was not a picture of people. That would have been too simple. It was one of those casual vacation photos people take when they want everyone to know they are relaxed, without actually saying it. A blue glass with a piece of pineapple on the rim, a white plate with shrimp still on it, ocean beyond a balcony rail, a pair of sunglasses half in the frame, and beside the sunglasses near the corner of the picture sat Marcus's watch. I stared at it. Then the picture disappeared. A message came right after. Wrong person. Sorry, that was it. Wrong person. Sorry. Layla had told our mother she was going to Maui with a woman she used to work with. Marcus had told me Phoenix, then a few extra days in Arizona with an old buddy from trade school. For 1 full hour, I tried to make both stories fit inside the same world. Maybe another man had the same watch. Maybe the picture was old. Maybe Layla's friend had a husband who wore stainless steel watches and set them beside pineapple drinks. Maybe I had become the kind of woman who could build a courtroom case from one blurry corner of a vacation photo. I did not want to be that woman. So I did the most dangerous thing a hurt wife can do. I checked the account. Marcus and I had shared an airline rewards login for years. He used to forget the password, so I kept it in a little notebook in the drawer with batteries and birthday candles. I opened the account on my laptop at the kitchen table. There it was. Columbus to Dallas, Dallas to Kahului. Marcus Carter. Layla Whitaker. Booked 3 months earlier. Same confirmation number, same return date. I read it once, then twice, then a third time because apparently part of me believed betrayal might change if I stared at it long enough. It did not. I made a fresh pot of coffee even though I already had coffee sitting beside me. That is how shock looked in my house. It looked like a woman in her 50s making coffee she did not want because her hands needed instructions. The itinerary told me Marcus and Layla had flown to Maui together. It did not tell me when it started. It did not tell me what promises were made in hotel rooms. It did not tell me if my sister had looked at my husband across a dinner table and thought about me sitting at home paying the electric bill. And because the people involved were my husband and my sister, my mind tried hard to make up a nicer story. Maybe Layla was in trouble and Marcus went to help her. Maybe there was a family secret nobody wanted me to know. Maybe it was wrong, stupid, humiliating, and secret, but not what it looked like. I wanted one of those answers so badly, I almost believed it. Almost. I could have put the itinerary on the counter the moment Marcus came home. I could have said, "Explain this." But I knew him. I knew Layla too. If I gave them a question, they would give me the cleanest version they could find, so I gave him fear instead. There was no doctor. Layla did not have an infection. Nobody told her partners to get tested. I made it up. I am not proud of that part, but I will not pretend it did not happen. Sometimes when the people closest to you hide the truth, you find yourself doing things you never thought you would do, just to see what falls out. Marcus came back almost 3 hours later. He did not say where he had been. I did not ask. He heated leftover chicken and stood at the counter eating it from a plate. At one point, he looked over and said, "You want me to warm up some potatoes?" I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because there are moments when your life breaks into pieces and somebody still asks if you want potatoes. "No, thank you." He nodded like we were normal. We went to bed around 10. Marcus turned away from me and lay still. I knew he was awake. He knew I was awake. The room had that heavy quiet that comes when two people are both pretending to sleep because speaking would require courage. At 10:17, my phone rang. "Layla," I answered. "Hello." She did not bother with hello. "What exactly did you tell Marcus?" I looked across the bed at my husband's back. "Why?" "Denise, what did you tell him?" "What did he tell you?" She went quiet. Layla has always been good at quiet. When we were girls, she could outwait anybody. Mama would ask who broke the lamp or used the last of her good lotion, and Layla would sit there with those big, innocent eyes until somebody else started talking just to fill the air. I was not 15 anymore. "Did you sleep with my husband?" She breathed into the phone. "Denise. Did you sleep with my husband, Layla?" It's not that simple. I closed my eyes. That sentence should come with flashing lights. Most of the time, when a person says it is not that simple, what they mean is the simple version makes them look awful. So yes. You don't understand. Then help me. She lowered her voice. Marcus was going through a hard time. I actually pulled the phone away and looked at it. A hard time. He felt like nobody heard him. Then he should have bought a radio. Can you stop? No. That came out sharp. I did not pull it back. Layla said, "Your marriage has been tired for a long time." That hurt more than I wanted it to, not because it excused anything. It did not. But there was enough truth in it to sting. Marcus and I had become very good at running a household, and not very good at reaching each other. We knew when the trash went out. We knew which bill drafted on the 15th. We knew Maya's work schedule and Elijah's girlfriend's name. We could talk for 20 minutes about the furnace filter and not once ask if the other person was lonely. But being lonely in a marriage is not the same as being single. "You do not get to turn my marriage into permission," I said. "I'm not." "You just did." "I'm trying to explain." "No, you're trying to make it sound understandable." She went quiet again. Then she said, "He told me you were both unhappy." I laughed once. It was not a kind sound. "Did he also tell you we were still married?" "Denise, please." "I'm asking." "Yes." "Good." I was worried the paperwork confused him. Beside me, Marcus shifted. He was listening. I sat up against the headboard. "How long?" Layla said nothing. "Was Maui the first time?" More silence. That silence told me more than her answer would have. "You need to talk to Marcus," she said. "That's what I thought." I hung up. Marcus rolled onto his back and stared at the ceiling. "You lied to her," he said. I looked at him in the dark. "That is your concern?" "I'm just saying." "Say all of it then." He sat up and rubbed both hands over his face. "I don't know what you want from me right now." The truth would be new. He started to stand. I said, "Don't." He stopped. "You don't get to walk away because this is uncomfortable." For a second, he looked like a man who wanted to argue that point and knew better. "Fine." I got out of bed too. "You went to Hawaii with my sister." "Yes." That was the first clean answer he gave me. It almost made me dizzy. "You slept with her." He looked down. "Yes." I nodded. I hated the nod. I hated that my body had chosen something so calm when I felt like my ribs had opened. "Did it start in Hawaii?" He did not answer. "Marcus." "It's complicated." I almost smiled. "You and Layla should have practiced separately." He frowned. "What? How long?" "Denise." "How long?" He sat on the edge of the bed. I stayed standing. "A few months." "How many?" "I don't know." "You know." He swallowed. 6. I waited. Maybe 8. That almost embarrassed me for him, not the affair. The childish little attempt to shave time off the truth like there might be a discount for confessing late. 8 months. He nodded. My mind started moving backward on its own. Christmas. Our anniversary. Maya's birthday dinner. Mama's cookout. Layla sitting at my table asking if I wanted more gravy. Marcus and Layla carrying folding chairs to the garage after Thanksgiving, me thinking it was nice they were helping. Memory changes shape when somebody hands you the missing piece. Was Maui supposed to be romantic? No. Then what was it? He stood. "It wasn't supposed to become this. You booked plane tickets 3 months ahead." That stopped him. Then he said, "I never planned to leave you." I wish I could explain why that hurt so badly. You might think it would comfort me. It did not. It meant he planned to keep me. The house, the laundry basket, Sunday dinner, someone to remind him about his blood pressure pills, someone who knew the tax folder was in the bottom drawer, and somewhere else, Layla made him feel interesting. So what was the plan? There wasn't one. There is always a plan when you lie for 8 months. He looked tired. Good. I had been tired for 4 days. "I love you," he said. "Then you have been very creative with the word." He flinched. For 1 second I felt bad. That made me angrier than the flinch. After everything, some part of me still did not like hurting him. 27 years does not leave the body just because the truth finally arrives. Marcus sat on the bed again, leaving space between us. "I wasn't miserable with you." That is somehow worse. "I'm trying to be honest." "Try harder." He looked at the floor. With Layla, I felt wanted. I felt younger. She listened to me. I almost interrupted, but I let him finish. And what did I make you feel? He looked up. Safe. There it was. Safe. Dependable. Permanent. The person who kept the house stocked and the family calendar straight. The woman who knew where his clean socks were and which cousin needed a birthday card. Safe can be a beautiful word. Coming from him that night, it sounded like furniture. Which one did you want? I asked. What? Me or Layla? He opened his mouth, then closed it. I waited. At last he said, very quietly, I wanted both. That was the first truly honest sentence he gave me. Not pretty, not romantic, not even sorry. Honest. He packed a suitcase after that. There was no dramatic speech, no slammed drawers. He folded 2 work shirts, socks, jeans, his razor, and his phone charger. I sat in the chair by the window and watched him move through our bedroom like a guest collecting his things. At one point, he picked up a navy sweater I had bought him for Christmas. He held it for a second. For one foolish moment, I wanted to tell him to put it back. I wanted to wake up the next morning and complain about his coffee grounds in the sink. I wanted my boring life back. That frightened me more than the anger. At the bedroom door, Marcus stopped. Please don't turn the kids against me before we figure this out. I looked at him. We? He did not answer. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Maya. Dad just messaged me. What's going on? Marcus saw the screen too. And just like that, the thing the 3 of us had done and suffered was no longer staying with the 3 of us. Maya came to the house the next morning before I had decided what to tell her. She did not knock. She still had a key from college, and apparently 22 is not too old to use it when your family is coming apart. Mom? I was standing at the kitchen counter in yesterday's sweater, staring at a piece of toast I had no intention of eating. She came around the corner fast. What happened? There are moments when your children look grown because they are standing in your kitchen asking grown questions, and there are moments when they look 5 years old again. Maya managed both. What did your father tell you? That you 2 are having problems. I closed my eyes. Of course. He said not to take sides. That did it. I set the butter knife down harder than I meant to. Your father has discovered fairness at a very interesting time. Maya stared at me. Mom, I pulled out a chair. Sit down. Just tell me. So I did. Not everything. I did not tell her about the fake doctor story. I did not tell her everything Layla said on the phone. I did not give my daughter details she would never be able to forget. I gave her the facts. Your father has been having an affair. Her face changed. With who? I hesitated. I should not have, because the hesitation scared her more than the answer. With Aunt Layla. She gave one short laugh. No. I nodded. No, Mom. I know. That doesn't even make sense. I know. She was here on Christmas. I know. She came to my birthday dinner. I know, baby. Maya sat down slowly. For a while, she did not speak. Then she asked, How long? About 8 months. Her eyes filled. I looked away, not because I did not want to comfort her, but because I suddenly hated that Marcus had put me in the position of explaining his affair to our daughter. Maya wiped her face with the heel of her hand. Does Grandma know? Not yet. Does Elijah? Not yet. Does Aunt Layla's ex know? I have no idea. Then anger came over Maya like weather. She's disgusting. Maya. She slept with Dad. I am aware. And you're defending her? I am not defending anybody. It was the first time I heard myself say that. I did not want Layla turned into a monster just because that made the story easier. I was furious with her. I did not know if I would ever be close to her again, but she was still my sister. Both things could be true at the same time. Maya stood and started pacing. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. You're not taking him back. I looked at her. She stopped. I mean, you can't. And there it was. Everybody had an opinion before I had one. I need time. Dad doesn't deserve time. Maybe not. I do. That quieted her. Later that afternoon, I called Elijah in Cincinnati. He listened without interrupting. That should have warned me. Maya reacted like a firecracker. Elijah reacted like a bank manager trying not to upset anybody in the lobby. When I finished, he said, "Okay. Okay? I'm trying to think. Take your time. Has Dad ended it?" "He says he has. And he wants to stay married?" "Yes." Another silence. Then, "Mom, do you have to decide everything right now?" I felt myself stiffen. What does that mean? It means everybody is hurt. Everybody. You know what I mean. No, I don't think I do. He sighed. Can you just not make permanent decisions while everybody's angry? For a second, I almost hung up. It sounded like he was asking me to absorb the damage so the rest of the family would not have to rearrange their lives around it. I am not the one who made a permanent decision, Elijah. That's not what I meant. It is close enough. He went quiet. I regretted my tone right away, which was becoming a theme. "I love you," he said. "I love you too. I'm not taking Dad's side. I know." I said it because I wanted it to be true. Marcus called that evening. "Can we meet tomorrow?" "For what?" "To talk." "We've talked." "Somewhere neutral." I almost said no. Instead, the next night I met him at a little Italian place we had gone to for years. Nothing fancy, red vinyl booths, bread on the table before you took your coat off. The waitress knew Marcus drank iced tea without lemon. He looked tired, not ruined, just older. "I'm sorry," he said. I unfolded my napkin. "For which part?" "All of it." "That's broad." "I know." He rubbed his thumb along the water glass. "I'm not going to make excuses." "Good." I was lonely. I looked at him. He corrected himself. "That is not an excuse. It is where my head was. Marcus, you have friends. You have a brother. You own a business full of men who call you every time a compressor sneezes. You could have talked to me." I tried. That bothered me. "Did you?" He thought about it. That told me enough. A lot of people think they communicated because they were disappointed silently in the same room. "Layla listened," he said. I leaned back. "There should be a billboard that says listening to a married man does not require Maui." Despite everything, the corner of his mouth moved. Then he looked ashamed for almost smiling. I did not know whether I hated that moment or needed it. He took a breath. Hawaii was supposed to be the end. I stared at him. "The end." "Yes." "You took my sister to Maui to break up with her." When I said it out loud, even Marcus seemed to hear how foolish it sounded. "I know." "No, I really don't think you do." "I thought if we had that time away I could explain it and end it right." "End it right." He winced. I looked around the restaurant. A couple in their 70s was splitting chicken parmesan. A little boy in the next booth was trying to convince his mother that soda counted as a vegetable. Our bread sat untouched between us. "I don't understand how you came home to me after being with her." He looked down. "I don't understand it either." That was the first answer that did not make me angrier, not because it helped, because at least it was not polished. "I already called a counselor," he said. I said nothing. "Not for us. For me. I know I need to deal with what I did." Still nothing. "I ended it with Layla." I believed him. That surprised me. "I don't expect you to trust me," he said. "Good. But I want to try." Here is the part I do not love admitting. I did not say no. I should have wanted to. I should have looked at him and felt nothing but disgust. Instead, I saw the man who sat beside me when my father died. The man who taught Elijah to drive because I did not have the nerves for it. The man who held Maya in an emergency room for 6 hours because I was convinced her stomach bug was appendicitis. Bad people are easy to leave. People who did something terrible are harder. "I need time," I said. He nodded. "I'll give you whatever you need." For 3 days, I considered counseling. Not because I was weak, not because I forgot what he did, because 27 years is a long time, and I wanted to know what I was walking away from before I walked. Then Monday morning came. I sat down to pay bills with my coffee, my reading glasses, and the household folder I had kept for years. There was a charge on our joint credit card that I did not recognize, $6,800, a resort in Maui. I stared at it. Then I called Marcus. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, did you put Hawaii on our credit card?" Silence. Marcus. "Yes." Something inside me shifted, not broke, shifted. "You told me your company paid for the trip. The Phoenix part. Did I pay for her room?" "Denise, we can talk about this." "I am talking about it. I didn't know how else to handle it." I hung up. That night, I pulled 18 months of statements from the filing cabinet. I made coffee, got a yellow highlighter, and sat at the kitchen table. Restaurant, parking garage, hotel. Jewelry store. Most of it could have been innocent. That was the awful part. Once trust is gone, a sandwich can look suspicious if you stare at the receipt long enough. I did not want to become the kind of woman who turned every cheeseburger into evidence, so I made myself slow down. I wrote dates on a legal pad. I wrote what Marcus had told me on those dates if I remembered. I wrote what I could prove and what I only suspected. There was a hotel charge from Indianapolis 7 months earlier. I remembered that weekend clearly. Marcus had called me from what he said was a HVAC convention. He complained about the hotel breakfast. "Powdered eggs," he had said. "You'd think for what they're charging, somebody could crack a real egg." I had laughed. I remembered standing at the sink, looking out at our backyard, asking if he packed the Navy sweater because the weather report said Indianapolis would be cold. Now the charge on the statement was not just $412. It was that conversation. That is what I had not understood before. When you learn someone has been lying, you do not only lose the present, you have to walk backward through your own memories and wonder which ones were real. There was a jewelry store charge in December too. That one made me sit back. Marcus had suggested we keep Christmas simple that year. "The kids are grown," he had said. "No reason to go crazy." Apparently, there had been one reason. By 2 a.m, I had a folder, a legal pad, and a headache behind my right eye. The next day at work, I was useless. I worked in billing and operations for a physical therapy office, which meant I knew how to track numbers, follow insurance codes, and find mistakes other people hoped would disappear. Dr. Parker had been trying to get me to take more responsibility for 2 years. That week, for the first time, I was grateful for all those dull skills. I could not control what Marcus had done, but I could build a clean record. 2 days later, I met with an attorney named Judith Freeman. She was in her early 60s, wore reading glasses on a chain, and had the calm face of a woman who had heard foolishness before breakfast. Her office smelled like paper, coffee, and lemon furniture polish. She looked through my notes without gasping, which I appreciated. "How much do you think he spent?" she asked. "Around $14,000. "Think or know?" I hesitated. "Some of it I know. Some of it is a strong guess." Judith pushed the legal pad back toward me. "Guesses are expensive." That was my introduction to divorce law. I told her about the affair. I told her about Maui. I told her it was my sister. Judith did not blink much. Finally I said, "Doesn't adultery matter?" "It matters to you." I waited. She took off her glasses. "Denise, court is not a game show where adultery means you win everything behind door number 3. I laughed. I did not mean to. Judith smiled. "Good. You still have a sense of humor." "Why, you will need it." Then she started asking questions that felt much less satisfying. Mortgage balance, retirement accounts, Marcus's share of the HVAC company, business debt, my income, his income, health insurance, property taxes. When she got to the house, I said, "I want to keep it. Can you afford it?" "Yes." She waited. I hated that wait. "Probably." "Those are different answers." She ran the numbers with me: mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, what buying out Marcus could look like, what refinancing might cost at my age and income. For days I had pictured Marcus leaving and me staying in the house as if that was the moral order of things. He cheated. I stayed. Therefore, I got the kitchen. Banks, I learned, do not recognize that system. I raised my children there, I said. I know. No, I mean that house is my life. Judith leaned back. Be careful not to spend your future buying a monument to a marriage you're leaving. That irritated me. Mostly because I knew I would remember it. Over the next week, I went through the statements again. This time, I removed every charge I could not connect to Layla in a way that would hold up. The number got smaller, but it got cleaner. When I brought the revised list to Judith, she looked at it and said, "You took several things off." I couldn't prove them? We could have asked questions. I don't need him to be worse than he was. She looked at me for a second. Then she nodded. That will help you later, even if it doesn't feel like it now. Layla texted me that Saturday. Can we please talk face to face? I almost said no. Instead, I wrote back, 20 minutes. When I opened the door, she looked terrible. I was glad. Then I felt guilty for being glad. Then I got annoyed at myself for feeling guilty. Betrayal comes with a lot of administrative work. Layla stepped inside. Usually when she came over, I would say, "Coffee?" I did not say it. She noticed. We sat at the kitchen table. My folder was still there with the statements inside. She looked at it. Are you divorcing him? I haven't decided what I'm doing with him. That was not entirely true anymore. And you? I asked. She looked down. He ended it. That is not what I asked. I know. I studied her for a moment. Then I asked the question that had been bothering me more than I expected. Did you ever sit at this table after being with him? Layla looked up. What? You heard me. Her eyes filled. I did not rescue her. Yes, she whispered. That answer landed in a different place. Not Maui, not hotel rooms, my kitchen, Thanksgiving leftovers, Mama's birthday cake, Layla sitting across from me asking if I wanted more coffee while carrying a secret that belonged in my marriage. How did you do that? I don't know. That seems to be everybody's favorite answer. She wiped her cheek. He told me you two were basically over. I stared at her. You were in my house. I know. You saw us together. I know. He slept in my bed. Denise, I know. Then what exactly did over look like to you? She did not answer. After a while, she said, he said he was waiting. For what? For Maya to get settled after college. He said once she was steady, he would tell you. For a second, I thought I had misunderstood. He told you he was leaving me? Layla nodded. He said he did not want to disrupt the kids' lives. I sat back. Marcus had looked at me and said, I never planned to leave you. To Layla, he had apparently been saying the opposite, and suddenly, his sentence at the restaurant made perfect sense. He wanted both. So he gave each of us the future that kept us still. Layla twisted a tissue in her hands. I know what I did. Do you? Yes. Her voice cracked. I was jealous of you. That surprised me. Of me? You had everything that stayed, the marriage, the kids, the house, holidays. Mama always knew Thanksgiving would be at your place. She gave a sad little laugh. After my divorce, it felt like everybody else's life kept going. Mine just stopped. And sleeping with my husband fixed that? No. She looked at me then. It made me feel chosen. There was no excuse in the way she said it. That made her harder to hate. Not impossible, just harder. Do you think you will ever forgive me? She asked. I looked at the chair she was sitting in, the same chair she had used 100 times. Maybe. Hope flashed across her face. I stopped it before it got comfortable. But forgiveness does not mean you automatically get your old chair back at my table. She nodded. Then I told her I did not want calls, visits, or family updates for a while. If there was an emergency with Mama, she could text. Otherwise, I needed quiet. She did not argue. After she left, I sat in the kitchen alone. For weeks, I had been asking the wrong question. Who did Marcus really want, me or Layla? The answer was simpler and uglier. Marcus wanted whichever arrangement asked him to give up the least. I picked up my phone and called Judith. When she answered, I said, "Start the divorce." That night, Marcus called. He did not sound defensive this time. He sounded scared. "Is there anything I can do to make you stop this?" That was when I realized something had finally changed. Marcus was not afraid of being caught anymore. He was afraid of losing me. A week after Marcus drove straight from our house to the clinic, he called me just before lunch. I was at work sorting insurance denials that had clearly been designed by people who hated both paper and mercy. "Everything came back negative," he said. I knew immediately what he meant. "Okay. I'm clean. I'm glad." Then neither of us said anything. I think he expected more relief. Maybe a question. Maybe some acknowledgement of the strange little medical drama that exposed him. Instead, I said, "I have to get back to work." "Denise." "What?" "I know you made it up." "I told you I made it up." "I know, He stopped. "Never mind." After I hung up, I sat there thinking about how strange it was. There had never been a disease, no doctor, no warning, no test result waiting to punish him. But Marcus believed it for less than half an hour, and in that half hour his fear told more truth than his mouth had told in 8 months. The clinic was not revenge. By then, I understood that. It was only the place where his fear outran his lie. What happened next was harder. Marcus started acting like the man I wished he had been before Maui. He went to counseling alone. He gave me access to every account without making me ask twice. Business records, credit cards, retirement accounts, passwords. He stopped saying we had grown apart like that explained anything. The first time I noticed the change was because Maya told me. She came over one evening with takeout Chinese food and dropped the bag on my counter. "Dad called me." I looked up. "And?" He apologized. "For upsetting you?" "No." That got my attention. Maya opened a carton of fried rice. He said, "I betrayed your mother, and I put all of you in the middle because I was selfish." I did not say anything. He didn't blame Aunt Layla. He didn't say you two had problems. He didn't tell me not to take sides. "That's new." "Yeah." She studied me. "Does it matter?" I hated that I did not have a simple answer. "Yes," I said finally. "It matters." "Does it change anything?" "I don't know." That was also true. Elijah came up from Cincinnati the next Saturday. He asked if we could get coffee, which was how I knew he had rehearsed something. We sat in a diner near the interstate. For 5 minutes he discussed traffic with the seriousness of a man reading from prepared notes. Then his coffee became extremely interesting. "About what I said." "Which part?" "When I asked you not to decide too fast." I waited. "I wasn't asking you to forgive Dad." "It sounded a little like you were." "I know." He rubbed his forehead. "I think I was asking you to stay because it would have made things easier for me." That surprised me. He gave a small, embarrassed smile. "Not exactly my finest hour." "You were allowed to be upset." "Yes, but you're the one married to him." I reached across the table and touched his hand. "You can love your father." "I know." "No, Elijah, I mean it. You do not have to prove loyalty to me by being angry forever." He nodded. "I am angry." "You can do that too." That conversation repaired something between us I had not realized had cracked. A few nights later, Marcus asked if I would have dinner with him. "At the house," he said. "My house?" He paused. "Our house." Neither one of us corrected the other. I agreed. When I arrived, I smelled onions before I reached the kitchen. Marcus was making chicken with mushrooms, one of the 4 meals our children had eaten without acting like we were poisoning them. "You're burning the rice," I said. He looked at the stove. "I'm not." I lifted the lid. He swore and I laughed. I did not mean to. It just came out. Marcus laughed too. For about 10 seconds, we were 35 again. That scared me more than any argument. We ate at the kitchen table. At first we talked carefully, then somehow Maya's first driving lesson came up. Marcus had taken her because I had refused to die in a passenger seat before my time. "She nearly put us through the garage," he said. "You told me she did fine." "She was 16. I was protecting her confidence. You came home looking like you had seen combat." "She hit a mailbox." I put my fork down. "You never told me that." "It leaned already." "Marcus." "Probably." I laughed again. Then we remembered Elijah breaking his wrist at 12 and insisting he was fine until his hand turned purple. We remembered a cabin trip in Tennessee where Marcus locked all 4 of us outside in our pajamas because he left the key on the dresser. For almost 3 hours, nobody said Maui. Nobody said attorney. Nobody said Layla. And that was the problem. Under all the damage, the marriage was still there. 27 years of sick kids, bad vacations, mortgage payments, funerals, private jokes, Christmas mornings, and cheap takeout on tired Fridays. Marcus had not erased those things. I could not erase them either. After dinner, he made coffee. He put 1 spoon of sugar in mine without asking. Of course he knew how I took it. He had been making it that way since before our knees started making weather predictions. We sat quietly. Then he said, "I know sorry doesn't undo anything." I looked at him. "I know I can't ask you to forget it." "No. And I'm not going to promise it will never happen again like that fixes what already happened." I waited. He looked tired, but there was no performance left in him. "If you let me, I'll spend however long it takes trying to become someone you can trust again." That was the apology I had wanted. And it came too late. The worst part was I believed him. When I left, Marcus did not try to kiss me. He stood by the door and said goodnight. I drove back to the small apartment I had rented while we sorted things out and lay awake until almost 4 in the morning. For the first time since seeing the Maui itinerary, I seriously imagined staying married. Not because I was afraid to be alone, because I still loved him. There. I said it. I loved the man who cheated on me with my sister. Human beings are inconvenient that way. I could take him back. We could go to counseling. He could move home. Maybe we would even have some good years again. Then I imagined his first overnight business trip, his phone buzzing during dinner, a credit card charge I did not recognize, Layla's name coming up around a holiday. I imagined myself pretending not to wonder. And I imagined Marcus spending the rest of his life proving things he had not done. That did not feel like forgiveness. It felt like probation. The next morning, I asked him to meet me at a little park where we used to take the kids. We sat in his truck facing the empty playground. Marcus looked hopeful. That made what I had to say harder. "I believe you're sorry," I said. His face changed. "You do?" "Yes." He reached for my hand. I let him touch it. Then I said, "And I'm still leaving." His hand went still. "I don't understand." "I know." "If you believe me, why can't we try?" I looked through the windshield at the swings moving a little in the wind. "Because forgiving you and being married to you are 2 different decisions." He did not answer. "I don't want to spend the next 10 years checking whether you're telling the truth, and I don't want you spending the next 10 years trying to prove you are." His eyes filled. Mine did too. There was no victory in that truck, only the bill coming due on something neither of us could undo. The divorce negotiations started soon after. They were not pleasant, but they were not war either. Judith made sure every documented dollar spent on the affair was addressed. I removed anything I could not prove. We went through retirement accounts, savings, Marcus's share of the HVAC business, and the house. Real divorce, I discovered, has fewer dramatic speeches than television suggests, and many more PDFs. The house was the hardest part. I ran the numbers again and again. I sat at the kitchen table with a calculator and legal pad until the numbers started to look personal. Finally, I told Marcus I wanted to sell. He looked genuinely shocked. "I thought you would want to keep it." "So did I." "You love this house." "I love what happened in it." He looked at me. "That is not the same thing." Months later, the sale closed. Marcus and I met there one last time before handing over the keys. Without furniture, the kitchen looked smaller. Every sound echoed. I could see pale squares on the wall where pictures had hung. Marcus ran his hand along the island where I had been sitting the day he came home from Maui. "I still wish you had given me another chance," he said. I looked around the empty room. This time I knew exactly what I wanted to say. "I gave you 27 years. He looked at me. There were chances inside every one of them. I did not say it to hurt him. By then, I did not want to hurt him anymore. That is one of the strange things nobody tells you about the end of a marriage. At some point, if you are lucky, you stop wanting the other person to suffer and start wanting them to understand." Marcus looked down at the counter. After a moment, he nodded. "I know." That was it. No argument. No last-minute promise. No movie ending in the kitchen. We walked through the house one more time, checking closets and cabinets because apparently even the end of 27 years includes making sure nobody left a casserole dish above the refrigerator. In the garage, Marcus found an old tennis racket of Elijah's. "Want this?" "No." "Me neither." We left it for the new owners. On the porch, Marcus locked the door and held the key out. "You should probably do it." "Why?" "You were always better at letting go of things." I almost corrected him. Then I thought about how long I had stayed after I knew what he had done. "Not always." We drove separately to the closing. A month later, I moved into a 2-bedroom townhouse 15 minutes away. It was not impressive. The kitchen was smaller. The upstairs bathroom had tile that looked like it had survived several presidents. The woman next door owned a small white dog that considered leaves a serious threat, but the place was mine, or more accurately, mine and the bank's. I increased my hours at the physical therapy office. Dr. Parker had been asking me to take over more billing and operations work for 2 years. I had always said no. Marcus earned more. We did not need the extra money, and I liked having Fridays free. Now Fridays became work days. A few months later, Dr. Parker called me into his office. "I should have done this sooner," he said. That sentence made me nervous after the year I had. Then he handed me a salary adjustment. It was not life-changing money, but it was enough that I went home, opened my banking app, and stared at the numbers longer than necessary. I knew what I earned. I knew what I owed. I knew what I could spend. There was something peaceful about that. Maya helped me buy a dining table. By helped, I mean she rejected every table I liked until we bought the one she wanted from the beginning. It arrived in 2 boxes with instructions written by someone who had never met furniture. We had 3 legs attached when Maya said, "Something is wrong." One leg pointed slightly inward. "You put it on backward," she said. "I put it on? You were holding the instructions." "You had the screwdriver." We took it apart. 20 minutes later, it was still wrong. Maya sat on the floor and said, "Don't tell Dad." I looked at the table. "Your father spent 30 years fixing commercial heating systems. This would have ended him." She laughed so hard she leaned against the wall. It was one of the first times we laughed about Marcus, and the laughter did not immediately die afterward. The kids kept seeing him. I wanted that. It was not always easy. Sometimes Maya would say, "Dad and I had lunch," and the old curiosity would rise in me. Where? What did he say? Did he mention me? I learned not to ask. Their relationship with their father was not evidence in my divorce. It belonged to them. Marcus helped himself more than I expected. He stayed in counseling. He did not turn Maya or Elijah into messengers. He did not make family events harder than they had to be. One evening, Elijah called after having dinner with him. "Dad said something I thought you might want to know." I braced myself. "He said you didn't break up the family." I did not answer right away. "He said he did." That mattered to me. Not enough to want him back, but enough that I could begin separating Marcus the husband from Marcus the father. He had failed in one role in a way I may never fully understand. That did not require me to hope he failed at the other. Layla was harder. For months we did not speak. Then a letter came. An actual handwritten letter, 4 pages long. That alone told me she was serious. Layla had not voluntarily written anything longer than a birthday card since the late 90s. She did not ask me to forgive her. She did not blame Marcus. She admitted he had lied to her. But then she wrote one sentence I read twice. "Marcus lied to me, but I lied to myself first. She said she had known exactly what she was doing. She wanted to believe my marriage was already dead because that made her feel less guilty. She apologized for coming into my house and sitting at my table while lying to me. I folded the letter. I stood over the trash can. Then I put it in a drawer. I did not answer. Almost a year after Maui, Mama turned 78. She wanted lunch with both daughters. At 78, my mother had reached the age where requests sometimes arrived dressed as executive orders. So I went. Layla arrived 5 minutes late. She stopped when she saw me. There was one empty chair beside mine. She looked at the chair, then at me. "Can I sit here?" I knew she remembered what I had said. So did I. I looked at the chair for a second. "You can sit." That was all. We did not hug. Nobody cried. Mama immediately complained that the restaurant was too cold, which was probably the best possible thing she could have done. Later, Layla and I ended up carrying dishes into Mama's kitchen. Layla pointed at the potato salad. "Did she put celery in this again?" "Apparently we are still being punished for something." Layla laughed. I did too. We talked about potato salad for 5 minutes. Nothing important. Sometimes nothing important is where you have to start. By the following Thanksgiving, I hosted dinner at my townhouse. My new table was too small. Elijah brought his girlfriend. Maya brought a pie she bought from a bakery and moved into her own dish so Mama would think she made it. I respected the strategy. Layla came too. Things between us were not fixed. I do not know if they ever will be completely, but she came. Marcus spent Thanksgiving with his brother in Kentucky. I knew because Elijah mentioned it, and for once the information did not do anything to me. No ache, no satisfaction. It was simply where Marcus had Thanksgiving. At one point, I stood in my little kitchen watching everybody argue about whether the rolls were done. Mama said they needed 2 more minutes. Maya said the bottoms were already too dark. Elijah said no roll in history had ever caused this much committee work. I looked at all of them around that too small table and thought about how sure I had been that Marcus and Layla had taken my family from me. They had not. They had changed it. So had I. For a long time, I believed keeping everybody together was my job. If the marriage survived, the family survived. If the house stayed full, the damage stayed outside. If I absorbed enough hurt, nobody else would have to feel it. I do not believe that anymore. That ridiculous lie I told about Layla's doctor felt like revenge for a little while. It was not. There was no disease, no medical warning, no terrible result waiting for Marcus. There was only a frightened man driving to a clinic because, for one brief moment, he forgot to lie. That gave me the truth. What I did with the truth was the part that mattered. I used to think dignity was something another person could take from you. Maybe sometimes it is. But there is another way to lose it. You can hand away small pieces of it because you are scared of what your life will look like if you finally say, "No, I do not do that anymore." I have still never been to Hawaii. Maybe someday. But when I go, I am buying my own ticket. And if you have ever had to choose between keeping something familiar and protecting your peace, tell me what you would have done. Like and subscribe if this story stayed with you, because some choices only make sense after you finally stop asking permission to live with dignity.